before we get started crocheting our pattern, I want to take a look at our graph here. This graph is for my Cup Cozy size, but you could follow this tutorial for any of the sizes for any of my heart patterns. You're simply going to be looking at your graph, and in order to follow along, you're going to look at this bottom row of numbers. This bottom row of numbers is going to tell you how many stitches we're going to be making for our pattern. So in this situation, you can see that I have a total of 33 stitches. Since I'm working this pattern in the round, there's no need to add additional chains to our foundation chain. I'm simply going to chain this number of chains, 33 for this particular pattern, and then I'm going to join with a slip stitch in order to begin working in the round, so no additional chains needed. I'm going to show you how to read your graph and follow along in your graph as I'm working through this pattern. So I'm just going to go ahead and get started now by getting my main color on my hook. And I'm going to chain 33. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 31, 32, and 33. So after I've chained the correct number of chains, I'm going to slip stitch into the first chain that I made. And I want to make sure that I do not twist that chain when I do that. So I'm just going to run my fingers over that, making sure it's flat, not twisted, and then bring that first chain over and slip stitch into. So after I've worked that slip stitch, you can see here that I now have a ring, and I'm going to begin working in the round. So for round 1, I'm going to look at my graph, and you can see there's no color work in that first round. So the number here is going to correspond with the round number that I'm working. So this is round 1, and there are no color work changes for round 1. So I'm just going to be chaining 2, which will not count as a stitch, and I'm going to work a double crochet in that same chain, and then work a double crochet in every chain around. And that is going to be my base round, my first round, for each one of my patterns. Regardless of which one that you're making, your first round will always be a round of double crochets before we begin working our front post double crochet stitches. So just work a double crochet in every chain all the way around. So after I've worked a double crochet in every chain, I get to the end of my round. I'm going to skip over that beginning chain 2. It does not count as a stitch, and I'm just going to be working a slip stitch into the top of that first double crochet that I made for this round. So for your stitch count, you're going to have the same number of double crochet stitches as you had worked in your chain. So in this situation, I had 33 chains. I will have 33 stitches. So now for round 2, I'm going to come back to my graph, and you can see for round 2, I'm going to start working my hearts across this round. So you're going to count how many stitches, because each of these boxes represent 1 stitch. So I'm going to count how many white stitches I'm going to work before I start working my red. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And you can see down here that 5 corresponds. So 5 stitches. I'm going to chain 2 to begin. Does not count as a stitch. And now I'm going to begin working my front post double crochets. And a front post double crochet is a yarn over, and you're going to come down to that previous round, and you're going to work around that first double crochet from that previous round. So I'm going to insert my hook between the chain 2 and the first double crochet, insert it behind that double crochet, and come up on the other side of that post, yarn over and pull through underneath that post. I have 3 loops on my hook, yarn over, pull through 2, and yarn over and pull through 2. So you're working a double crochet stitch, but instead of working that double crochet stitch at the top of the post, you're going to be working around the post. So I'm going to be doing that 5 times before I start changing colors. So double crochet around the next, double crochet around the next. That's a total of 3, 4, and this is my 5th stitch. Now I don't want to finish this double crochet because I'm going to be changing colors. So before I do that final yarn over, I'm going to leave the last 2 loops on my hook, and I'm going to bring in my contrasting color. So in order to minimize how many ends I'm weaving in, I'm going to be picking up yarn for each one of my hearts. So I have made these little balls of yarn. Each one of my hearts uses approximately 170 inches of my contrasting color. And so I just measured those out to create these little balls of yarn. So my main color is always going to be dropped and then picked back up. I'm never going to fasten that off, and I'm just going to be floating that main color behind my hearts, and I'm going to show you how to do that. So for my first heart here, I've worked my 5 stitches, and I have my little ball of yarn here. So in order to bring in that new color, I'm going to drop my white. I'm going to take my end of that new color. I'm going to place that on my hook, basically for that final yarn over to complete my front post double crochet. Pull it through those final 2 loops on my hook. I've completed that double crochet stitch, and I'm ready to work with my new color. So I'm dropping that white, and I'm going to be working that next front post double crochet with my new color, but I'm only working 1 stitch. So I'm going to yarn over and pull through, yarn over, pull through those 2, leave 2 loops on my hook, drop that color, and pick my white back up, yarn over, and pull through those final 2 loops to complete that double crochet, and I'm ready to work with my white again. Now I look at my graph, and I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 white front post double crochets before I start the next heart. So I'm going to work 10 front post double crochets and bring in the yarn for my next heart. So I've worked 9 double crochets, and now I'm going to work my 10th front post double crochet. I'm not going to be completing that stitch, leaving my last 2 loops on my hook, bringing in my next ball of yarn here for the next heart, and pull it in, completing that double crochet, working 1 front post double crochet with that contrasting color, again not completing, pulling in my main color by yarning over and pulling in through those final 2 loops to complete that stitch. And then again, coming back to my graph, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 white front post double crochets before I begin my next heart. So on my 10th, I do not complete that final double crochet there. I'm going to grab my last little ball of yarn for my contrasting color and leaving a tail for weaving in, pulling that through my last 2 loops to complete that stitch. Drop my white, work 1 stitch, drop that, pull in my white by completing that. So my white is going to basically be floating across the back of my work, and you'll see that a bit more as we work through this pattern. So then I come back to my graph, and I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 double crochets, 5 front post double crochets to complete this round. To complete the round, I'm going to skip over that chain 2 from the beginning and slip stitch to the top of the first front post double crochet to complete round 2. So now I'm ready to move on to round 3, and here is my third round. 1, 2, 3, 4. So 4 white front post double crochets to begin this round. So chain 2, front post double crochet around that first front post double crochet of that previous round. So there's 1, 2, 3, and 4. I'm going to be changing colors. I leave those last 2 loops on my hook. Okay, so I'm ready to change colors, and I'm going to be dropping my white, and I'm going to drop it to the back of my work. I'm just going to hold it out of the way so it's not causing me difficulties. And I'm going to pull in my color for my heart by picking it up. So it's just been kind of hanging out back there waiting for me. And I'm going to yarn over with that and pull it through those last 2 loops to complete that white double crochet. And I'm ready to work the 3 double crochets, the 3 front post double crochets for my heart. Now before I do that, you see here where it was dropped, and I'm pulling it in, so there's like a float, a yarn float here. And I want to make sure that that's not too tight, that it's not going to pull any of my stitches. So I'm just going to make sure that it's kind of loose back there, and then I'm going to go ahead and work my 3 double crochets. And you'll get a feel for that as you work these color changes, for how tight that should be. So I've completed those 3 front post double crochets. Don't complete that last one. Leave those last 2 loops on the hook. Come back, drop the color, and I'm going to drop that to the back of my work, and I'm going to pull the white back in. So it's going to float along the back of my work here, and I'm going to do the same thing. Yarn over and pull through those final 2 loops, and you can see I have this float here. And again, make sure that's not too tight, so you can adjust that, and then you're ready to move on. You've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 whites in the front post double crochet before I get to my next heart. So you can see here that my heart is starting to take shape. I've got my tails or my floats back behind my work. I'm just dropping that, and I'm leaving it there so that it's ready for me to pick back up when I come back along for the next round. And I'm just going to be continuing that same pattern. So I'm going to be working front post double crochets around every stitch, and I'm going to be following my color work graph for each round until I've completed my last round 7 of color work, and then round 8 is just going to be 1 round of white. So just continue on in your pattern, working your color work until you finish with round 8. So I finished my final round for my cup cozy, and with that final slip stitch join, I'm going to bring in the same color that I used for my hearts with that slip stitch join. And now I'm ready to work one round of single crochet along that top edge by chaining 1 and working a single crochet in every stitch around. So this is just an edge, completely optional, and I'm going to be working a single crochet edge for my cup cozy on both the top and the bottom edges. So I'm just going to be continuing around this top edge a single crochet. After I've worked one round of single crochet, I'm going to slip stitch to that first stitch and then fasten off for that top edge. So now I'm ready to work that round of single crochet on the bottom. I'm going to get my heart color on my hook, come to the bottom edge, and these are those unused loops from that foundation chain. You can just join close to that seam, that chain 2 and the join with a slip stitch, chain 1, single crochet in that same loop, and then single crochet in each of those unused loops around. And that's all there is to it to complete your pattern. One round of final edging, and then at the end of this round we'll work a slip stitch join to the first stitch, fasten off, weave in all of our ends. I want to show you what the inside or wrong side of my cup cozy looks like here. So this is one of the hearts, and you can see these yarn floats where I carried yarn across, particularly the white that I carried across, and then I had the colors would come back over so I could start a new round or start a new heart. I would pull that color in so you can see those as well. So you can see these aren't terribly tight, but they're also not loose. They just flow nicely over the back of my work without pulling my stitches. But I wanted to just take a quick moment and show you what that should look like. So I finished my cup cozy. This has worked up beautifully. You can see all 3 hearts. You can use this tutorial to help you through the heart ear warmer patterns that I'm going to have as a free pattern on my website, as well as the matching fingerless gloves. So you can find those free patterns on my website. I will have links below in the description. I will also have in the description for this video on YouTube, you will get all of the color work numbers for my cup cozy if you want to go ahead and make one of those as well. I hope you've enjoyed this tutorial today. Thanks so much for being with me. As always, remember to subscribe to my YouTube channel so you never miss a new video. Thanks everyone. I'll see you soon. Take care. Bye-bye.